So now I will discuss the F2 generation Cherokee Purple grape tomato hybrid. Here are the seedlings. I planted them sometime before February 20th. Not by much, it doesn't take long for them to sprout. Maybe I planted them 5 days, a week before. And yeah, this is what I got. This one right here, worth noting, which I still know what the mature plant is, has 3 cotyledon leaves. Kind of odd. Just a random mutation. I don't think it's genetic or anything. To start off the season, I planted them outside, and for some reason they kind of got these spots. It's some sort of a disease, I'm assuming. I mean, it has to be some sort of virus or fungus, and I didn't know what to do about it. So you can see right here, I kind of cut off some of the leaf, but it still spread. It spread to all of them eventually, and they were looking pretty sickly. And then it went away. I don't know. It may be visible on some of these. Well, never mind. It's not visible, but yeah, they had it when they were young, and then I slowly added dirt to it, or I slowly added soil, and I chopped off those sickly leaves, and I guess they just grew out of it. Maybe it'll come back later in the season when they're weaker. But yeah, I took a picture like about once every 13 days. No, not really intention. No, not really intentional. It's just the way I kind of did that. And look, I like them the way they look right here. But yeah, also down here you see soybean plants that I planted. I've gotten soybeans. Here is just an array of tomatoes. I know which plant each one came from, so you have this one from plant 1, and it's kind of a brownish color. These are all from plant 3, and actually when you cut them open, they're also a bit brownish on the inside. And then this one's from plant 2, and it's red on the inside. So these ones, the chlorophyll did not deteriorate as the tomato matured like it should have. This is, again, plant 1, and I'll be showing a few pictures from each. So these ones were kind of flat. And here, let me get a paper quick. So yeah, I wrote down all the information, and the ones from plant 1 were flat. I weighed a bunch of them and figured out that they were about 1.5 ounces average. They had green and red flesh because the chlorophyll did not deteriorate like it should have. They had yellow skin, and they had 5 to 7 locules. So I'll eventually show you a picture of a cross section because it had more locules than my others for the most part. So here's this with the cross section. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, like 6.5. I don't know. We've got a funky one right there, but yeah, you can see it's a cross section of it, and it looks nice. Here's just some more pictures of it. And it was a good little tomato, other than the stem being really large for the size of the tomato. That was not very good. But these are from plant 2, and I don't have a lot of pictures of them, but that's because they were kind of boring. They were round and red. They tasted good. They're just like a large cherry tomato, if I had to describe it anyway. So they were round, also about 1.5 ounces like the previous tomato. They only had red flesh. The skin was yellow, and they had 3 to 4 locules. This is plant 3 right here. And, I don't know how to describe the shape other than kind of bell pepper-like. That's all I can say. It was kind of bell pepper shaped. And they were 1 ounce. They had green and red flesh, yellow skin, and all of them, I think all of them, maybe but one, had 3 locules. So they were pretty consistent. And the first tomatoes on this plant got bigger, and then as the season progressed and it bore more tomatoes, they were smaller, even though I'd get more. So these are from plant 4, and this is the only picture I got of them. And I also haven't gotten very good harvests from this plant. They keep getting blossom rot, and I keep giving them calcium or adding or taking something away, and it's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong with this one. Maybe it's just screwed up. And this was also the only one that had 2 locules. Wait a sec. This should be... Oh, I got these 2 backwards. This should be plant 5 right here. This is plant 4. Plant 4s were round, 1.5 ounces, red flesh, yellow skin, 3 to 4 locules, just like plant 2. So cross that out. That really should be a 4. So yeah, this is plant 5 right here. And these ones are the ones I had trouble harvesting, like I said. So just imagine a 5 there. They were very ovate. They were like the longer they were left on the vine, the longer they got. I mean, I still have some out there, and they're very oval shaped, if you put it that way. And they were also 1.5 ounces. They were red flesh, yellow skin, and they pretty consistently had 2 locules. But yeah, the harvest was sad with these. I don't know what that was about, or that's been about. I have some, and hopefully I'll get some ripe ones soon. But this is plant 6, and the ones from plant 6 were actually much like the ones from plant 1. They were flat. They were about 1.5 ounces. Red fleshed instead of red and green like plant 1. Yellow skin, and 5 to 7 locules. So whatever phenotype the other one had, this one also has, and the genotype probably in some way matches that. Other than the lack of green flesh when it's mature. So this is plant 6, and this is a fasciated bloom. So basically, it was multiple flowers stuck together, and it created a funky looking tomato. And I have a picture of the mature tomato right here. Look at that. That's neat looking. This right here is called cat facing, by the way, when it's got that brown line, and that's just from having a deformed flower. It's no problem. This is also a fasciation. Of course, it's not a flower fasciation. The plant itself was fasciated. Basically, this right here is a top, and this is a top, and each one of those split off into about, I think this one split off into 8, and this one split into 5 or so tops. The plant ended up being real screwed up. I don't know what happened there, but I read that maybe if a fungus gets in it, or not, like I was imagining this was a result of it in its youth. But yeah, I ended up having to do a lot of surgical work on it. So right here you can see it's kind of wide, but if I took a side angle of it, it was also very flat. It's fine now. It actually ended up being my most productive tomato plant. Look at that. This is also plant 7, like I said. So look at all these flowers. It was quite productive, and these are the 2 tops. I only preserved 2. I cut the rest off. These are the tomatoes, and simply because of this, like, they were slightly ovate, slightly oval shaped. I would say, like, compared to the ones from plant 5, they weren't as oval shaped, but they still were quite a bit. They were 1.5 ounces, red flesh, yellow skin, and had 3 to 4 locules. They were my favorite. I'm selecting seeds from them to plant the next generation. So this is just a ripe tomato. And you can see it kind of looks like a Roma tomato in a way. It's got a small top, but they're good. Roma tomatoes aren't good. I don't like Roma tomatoes anyway. I mean, homegrown Roma tomatoes are fine, but they still won't beat this. This was a very sweet tasting tomato right here. It's perfect to me, and it's got a small stem. You can eat the whole thing. And this is it cut open. So it's a good looking tomato. From plant 8, now this one took a long time, and that's because it was battered by rain where it sat. It sat kind of where my house dripped on it, except not only drip, but sometimes waterfall, and it battered it. But this is plant 8, and they were round, 1 ounce on average, red flesh, yellow skin, and had 3 to 5 locules. So it actually had more locules than the other round ones did when I finally got ripe tomatoes, but other than that, they were nothing special. and then the ones from plant 9, which I've gotten very few from, but you can see these look pretty interesting. They were slightly ovate, just like the ones from plant 7, 1.5 ounces, red flesh, yellow skin, and 3 to 4 locules. So they pretty much mirrored plant 7, but I don't think this one got enough light. It kind of ended up being behind the rest of the tomato plants and in between a wall, and the wall is to its south, and it had issues getting light, so it is kind of my fault. But yeah, so none of my tomato plants ended up with clear skin. Kind of weird, because there should have been a 1 in 4 chance, just like the green flesh. I had 2 that had green flesh, plant 1 and plant 3, and the rest had just red. So I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I still have recessive traits that I'll see in the next generation. And in the next video, I will talk about the F1 generation Cherokee Purple cocktail tomato hybrids. And these ones are more interesting to me than now my previous hybrid. Lots of tomatoes, and still counting.